Hey guys, thanks for making it to chapter 31 with me. I'm glad we got this far, so I'm just going to jump into reading it, and I'm going to read chapter 31 and 32, and then I'll speak about it afterwards, the two chapters, because again, they're kind of short, concise. So chapter 31, Essence of a Dice. The orange sun from her world blinded me. I felt so warm. I watched two boys behind her playing a sport in a land of hills green with perfection in an orange-lit world. So what is it that you would like to know? Her lips moved and her world pulsated to every syllable. Lydia, I'm happy as well. I took a quick glance at River. But ever since the death of the girl on the cruise, I haven't really been okay. I've been dreaming of my death and taking in negative images into my mind. Who killed her? River raised his head. I did. I can tell you your fate. I sat there watching her and the boys, if you want. I nodded as our eyes connected. River isn't well, and he will die for killing her. Then you, Aelin, you will suffer. Her eyes told you, Aelin. Frederick told you to stop. You had no reason for killing her. My body fell beneath me as a shock blew up my body. I don't understand. River held me to his side. I created you all with rules in place. You knew them. Is there nothing we can do? I felt my world decrease to nothing but the essence of a dice on a board game. Go to your doctor. I couldn't look at River. The thought of him made me unravel. Get out. Her playful world turned red and black. The boys stopped playing and stared at us with threat in their eyes. The bars began to melt, the room got cold, and the sun disappeared behind the once green hills. River took my hand. I cringed. We left. I can't breathe. So chapter 32 now is called Burden of My Wish. Your hands are so cold, Aelin. He held my hand tight. I moved my hand. I don't want to feel. I sit there tormenting my mind with lies and imaginations. Look at me. I stared at the spider on the floor, wondering how it doesn't get stuck in the cracks on the floor. He sat behind me and he took my face into his hands gently. No matter what, we will always be together. I released his hands from my face and looked back at the spider. My mind wouldn't let me escape. Hold my hand, please. He begged me with a sadness in every peak of his voice. Whatever happened to being alone? I don't remember being alone. I bit my tongue. It hurts. There was a girl that wrote her imagination on paper and begged for her world to come to life. She cried on paper beds and sank into them. She was then devoured into her created world. Now her current life, and she couldn't wait to put the burden into someone else's hands. So she created boys. Where did that come from? I lied on the bed. Just be quiet, please. I felt the inside of me constrict. I know if I blinked for too long, I would cry. I looked in his eyes and imagined myself running fast on a desert road, devoured by trees on each side. I wanted to run away from any pain from him. Hold me, please. He held me without question, and I held him tighter. I could feel our hearts beating in cohesion. My mind disappeared, and I was no longer in this world. I was in him. It couldn't end now. It is okay if I want it to end. Is it okay if I want it to end now? Could it get any better than this? We separated. What are you thinking? I looked at him and I smiled. Us. He smiled and I touched his lips and sunk into his chest. Moments later, the music in his chest turned my body off and I felt better. So these two chapters, I want to say specifically, it has a lot to do with like getting punished. So they went to Lydia. So Frederick said, "Hey, go to Lydia," and Lydia said, "When you guys killed that girl," and Frederick was in her eyes and said, "Don't kill her," because they killed her for vanity. this isn't a religious textbook. This has nothing to do with the deadly sins or anything like that. It's a book about killing bad people, more or less. There's nothing bad about someone that's vain or something, or it's not something that I have any bit about or really want to discuss or anything. So they're kind of getting punished because that's not really a part of the role. That's not really a part of, I suppose, Lydia's dream. So that's that part. I also want to say a lot of it comes from, again, like I said, the concept of being punished, like saying getting in trouble as a child. So again, like, River isn't well and he will die for killing her and you're gonna suffer. It's like, hey, you're grounded, you can't play with your game anymore, and you're like, oh my god, are you gonna throw it in the garbage, am I never gonna get it again? And like, kind of the fear as a child. And then also going into Burden of My Wish, kind of like lies and imagination, kind of thinking of the worst, not really being able to get out of certain thoughts, and like being hyper focused on some things, and just being sad. The line there, so I had let a friend, his name's Pete, I had given a few of my friends my book when I just finished it, so kind of in bad taste. They were tree planters, so they all kind of did read it in the summer, but no one really gave me any feedback or anything on it. They just said we had a lot of time to kill. But anyways, he had read up to this part before he had left, and he said I should keep that section about there was a girl who wrote her imagination on paper. And so that premise is going to come back a lot. It is about Lydia. It's about how she got there, and you'll see this come back. And there were 2 boys in her playground. You'll get to hear more about them and everything like that. So again, their punishment's going to occur and stuff, and I'm mainly just going off of my emotions of like the stress of being in trouble. I was the type of kid that, like, when I got in trouble, I would like cry forever. It was like the worst thing in the world. I hated getting in trouble. So that's definitely this, me being like sad and depressed. It's definitely that in like this poem or this prose or this book, whatever. So again, they can't really be breaking the rules. They can't really be doing things that are against what the current situation is. So I suppose the concept of this is they kind of threw off the balance, and they have to put the balance back together. So that's what you're gonna see in the later chapters is is that kind of reformation and solidifying what's going on. And also when Lydia goes and says, River, you'll die, and Aelin, you'll suffer. So going back to the concept of draining, so the concept is it's like, I did something bad in the past, I forgot about it, I recognize that I forgot about it. There's like this little blip that's just gone, and I'm like, man, I need to know my history. So I go to my partner and I tell my partner, hey, help me drain so that I can go back. So again, they cut each other, a little blood goes, and they start pulsating back and forth within being here and into the dream, and they're allowed to pick little scenes from it to form a concept of what happened, and then they're supposed to seal the cut. Their other significant partner licks their wound, and then it's done. If the wound's not able to be, if they're not able to lick their wound in time, they get thrown into it. So from the concept of getting thrown into your past and being torn apart like the person they had killed, the concept is when they die, the person that they left also like starts to feed at themselves, starts to just fall apart, and it's just not a good time because it's slow, it's painful, it's hard to watch. So that's kind of why she said, you're going to suffer, Aelin, and River, you're going to die. So that should be it for this section. I'll go on to read chapter 33. And yeah, again, thank you so much for getting this far with me. Thank you. See you in the next chapter.